Getting divorced with a 2-year green card, a conditional green card, can be one of the most stressful periods of any person's life going through the immigration process. You're already in a relationship that's not working out, and then you have to worry about what's going to happen with my permanent residency. Can I stay in the United States? Will I be put in removal hearings, deportation, or not? Rest assured, in vast majority of cases, it is possible to fix this with the I-751 waiver. You just have to file things procedurally correct and also have good evidence that you could get together to solve the situation and give the answers the government wants. Now, I-751 process in general, even if jointly filed, could be very stressful even if you're not getting divorced because the government doesn't put many resources to it. They have very few officers. So you're seeing delays where the government expects to take even 4 years. I haven't seen it take 4 years, but the government expects it to even take 4 years. And they frequently send requests for evidence out asking for documents. You've already set them. So it's really confusing when that happens and worrisome, but rest assured it happens all the time. So in vast majority of cases, again, it is sometimes fixable. You just have to deal with the situation, right? And that's what this video is all about, to help you through that. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I teach immigration law to other lawyers and to students at law schools, and I love helping couples and people in the distressful period of divorce to go through this process to keep their U.S. residency and not have to return back to their home country. So let's start with, what is the I-751? What's the point of it? In an effort to avoid marriage fraud, the government many decades ago said that once you get a green card, if your green card is issued before your marriage is 2 years old, we'll only give you a conditional green card. The conditions are that it's just like a regular green card, except that after 2 years of having that green card, you got to file another application to show that your relationship is real, to update with documents and evidence that it's a real relationship and it wasn't fake. Now, what they do is they give you a 90-day window. So if your green card is going to expire on a certain date, you have 90 days before that within a window to file the I-751 removal conditions. The form is I-751, not I-90, which some people mistakenly submit, and has to be submitted within that window if you're filing jointly with your spouse. So let's get to the first part that we can talk about. If you are getting a divorce or divorced, the timeline window does not apply to you. You could file the case sooner or later. Either way is possible. Now, you want to avoid filing later than the 2-year mark because potentially they might put you in removal hearings, deportation, to talk with a judge. You want to avoid that. And if you are forced to file late, you should explain what the situation, the reason for late filing, which could be divorce. But those situations pop up. Now, if your divorce is finalized before the time to file the I-751 is there, that's usually the best situation because you're going to have a divorce certificate that you can submit with the case to show that divorce is finalized. And as we'll see as we talk, the most important part of it is actually just having the final divorce certificate, which is troublesome to get because sometimes within the relationship, people are in fights and there's delays because of money, children, or other factors, or even the government has certain delays baked in the cake depending on which state you're getting divorced on, which delays getting the divorce certificate, which delays your ability to tell the government that you want to waive the joint filing requirement as a couple and you're filing your I-751 single. So the best scenario is, for me, and I've seen, is have the divorce finalized and don't stay in a relationship. For most cases, I mean, obviously it has to be a relationship, but don't stay in there because you're afraid of what's going to happen, because a bad relationship can be very bad. And even if the U.S. spouse says, you know what, we'll just stay in this relationship, I'll come to a future interview with you, it's fine. I've seen where people do that. And then when the interview date comes up, out of an act of bad faith, they'll just not show up to the interview. And so they have no divorce certificate. The spouse didn't show up, and it puts them in a really bad position, and potentially it could cause failure and removal proceedings. But before that can be fixed up. Now, these cases can be fixed up before an immigration judge too, or refiling, even if the case is sent to immigration court. But it's going to cost a lot of money, a lot more time, and a lot more stress. So we want to avoid that. So the first scenario is getting a divorce before the I-751 time comes. The second scenario is where you've filed the I-751 case and the relationship starts breaking apart. Some people just say, oh, I'll wait for the relationship to continue, but for the decision to be made on the I-751. The main problem with this right now is that I-751s are taking many years to be approved. So it forces you to stay in a relationship you don't want to. You might want to separate, live separately. And if you do live separately because of the relationship falling apart, that could be something that could be problematic either at that case if they find out, or even at citizenship time when they'll look back and say your relationship was fake, you lied to us, it was not real. So what we find more important is, if the relationship is an end and you don't want to continue with it, to start the divorce process, because again, in states like California, the divorce would take a minimum of 6 months. And so we need to get that divorce certificate and notify the government in time. Now, sometimes if the divorce happens, we'll notify the government with a filing receipt to show that divorce has happened. And then the government, usually a few months later, come back and say you have 90 days to send us the final divorce certificate. And hopefully by that time we have it. This is a game of strategy. It's very case specific, so I can't guide you and advise you to do it. We got to really see what's going on in the relationship, the documents, all this kind of stuff. Most of the time when my clients are filing their divorce certificates on their own, their divorce paperwork, and not using a lawyer, pretty much every time they make mistakes that make something that should take like 6 months take more closer to 10 or 12 months. And that's every time it happens. Now, you don't have to have a divorce lawyer. We don't do family practice. We don't handle divorce law at all. So you have to do someone else. But you just recommend it. Just have someone to help you finish it up so it's done more efficiently. Because we need that divorce certificate to make the government happy. And we don't want the case to be approved without them knowing that divorce is finalized, because that could be problems later where they'll think like, oh, why don't you tell us? So that leads to the third scenario, is we get approved and then divorce is finalized and the government doesn't know. And that scenario pops up sometimes too, and where our goal is always to notify the government of divorce one way or another before the case is approved. But then after it's approved, we typically will notify the government so they know, and if they want to reopen the case, they can, so that later on they don't find out, have problems, or the citizenship time comes up, they find out there and say, you lied to us, you didn't tell us about the divorce. So you see different scenarios. Having the final divorce certificate is really key to get the case in and get it approved, and to notify the government, to update them. And that's the main procedural aspect that's problematic with these kind of cases, getting a final divorce certificate and submitting it. Now, even if you are divorced, you still need to have bona fides to show that your relationship was real. So you really want to hopefully have documented stuff. And sometimes if you're in a bad relationship, you don't have those documents, but you do as much as you can. If you have sometimes letters, even utility bills or letters from the government or whatever, posted to you and the spouse, showing you have the same address. But the main things we like to look at for all I-751 cases is having joint tax documents showing you filed taxes together. Hopefully you did that. Having joint residential documents, lease agreement, home purchase, something like that. Also joint driver's licenses or IDs that have the same address, and financial accounts that show you have banking together, credit cards, and insurance accounts, investment accounts, life insurance, health insurance, 401k, all that kind of stuff. You do the best that you can. There's a long list of different things that can be used, and really it's just you have to analyze your life, or travel you did together, letters from family and friends, wedding certificate, wedding invitations, you got both your names, anything you get to document it. So like procedurally, you got the divorce ready, and you have backup documents that are there as well. Now, there's a different format. That's if you just got divorced but your marriage is real. But there are different options that can help you as well for waivers if there's abuse, and also if you have fear of returning to your home country. That's not the goal of this video to get into that, because that's a whole different thing. But I just wanted you to first and foremost primarily be aware of it's possible to keep the green card if you're going through divorce. We need to know more about your relationship to give individual guidance, but we normally recommend that a divorce be finalized as soon as possible and the case be filed before the 2 years is up, so it doesn't trigger any automatic court hearings or something like that. But again, it's case specific. We got to see what's going on in your life, what documents you have. Sometimes we've had couples, very rarely, but we have couples reconcile. They want to get divorced, they separate, they get back together, and they stay happy. It was a small issue that popped up or a big issue, but they cleared it up. So divorce wasn't even necessary, and they go along with the bona fide filing as a joint case. So it's very case specific, but it's possible to fix it. If you want to contact us, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Our team can help you. jqklaw.com/contact is where to go. First, we have a consultation, review all the facts, all the documents you get together, and decide which path, the strategy is best for you. Again, the website is jqklaw.com/contact. I wish you the best.